Well, good evening from Sable Island. I'm in my workspace, which is a small building at the Sable Island station. And Parks Canada has recently got a Starlink system set up here. So it's much better Wi-Fi than we used to have, but there are still some little glitches, and occasionally it will drop out, in which case I will have to speedily try to sign in again. So it's been a foggy and soggy day here on Sable Island. We've had more than 50 millimeters of rain since last night, which is going to cancel a few flights tomorrow and the next day. I'm amazed and grateful to be receiving this award. I'm especially grateful to the Planet in Focus Environmental Film Festival for this remarkable event and for making it possible for me to participate without having to leave Sable Island. So basically, as you've heard, I was at I first heard about Sable Island when I was at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. I was in a third-year goldsmithing program. So, and I managed to start working on Sable Island even while I was still at the art college. Although I had a studio in Halifax at the time and eventually graduated with a Master's of Fine Arts degree and had assumed that my future would be as an artist and an artisan, I was ever more intensely drawn back to Sable Island. So that's when why I accepted the contract to conduct monthly surveys for bleached and oiled seabirds and gave up the part-time teaching at the college so that I would be able to work on the island year-round. Here I'm referring to my Sable activities as work, but really it hasn't ever been work. It's not a job. It's just what I've wanted to do. And people have often commented on my sacrifice, on what I must have sacrificed in my dedication to Sable Island. It's never been a sacrifice. My life attached to this island has been filled with wow moments, amazing sights and sounds, ever-present curiosity, always with opportunities to learn. Sable has given me far more than I can ever hope to equal in return. As I became more involved in monitoring and research studies on the island here, I found the process quite familiar, very similar to the process of making artworks, imagining, conceptualizing, and creating. The tools were different in science, but for me, there was a barely noticeable transition from arts to science. As a naturalist, I want to gather data, detect patterns, recognize trends. And this happens with much the same focus and feeling and motivation as I had when I was making artworks. For me, it seems that in art, the process often comes together with the production of a piece, a poem, a concert, a film, a sketch. In science, the piece could be a report, a conference, or a publication in a peer-reviewed journal. I was incredibly fortunate to visit that first time, and in those days, it's not possible anymore. But in those days, it was possible to respond and act on the connection I felt, and to just go back to Sable Island, find some work to do, and just stay there without being affiliated with any organization. And I continued that for about 50 years. And even now, I still feel wonder and discovery when I'm here. It's never diminished. Although I have most often worked alone, on my own, on the island, and for the first 40 years lived in an isolated camp with no electricity or running water, I've never been alone on Sable Island. Weather data have been collected on Sable since 18. The longest continuous databases, weather database in Atlantic Canada. So when I arrived, there was a weather station here. And for my first 40 years, the Meteorological Service of Canada provided community and encouragement. They were friends, they were here, they were kind of my connection with other people. And to live on an island that is almost entirely shaped by wind waves, what better company could you have but people who really understand weather? I was here for Hurricane Fiona a few weeks ago. Although the island is now a national park and the Met Service no longer has personnel on the island, I was far more prepared for Hurricane Fiona, both physically and psychologically, than I might have been had I not experienced many huge storms and weather systems with the benefit of the Met Service personnel nearby. So I kind of, I learned to understand weather more and to have and to know what the expectations were. So to live on it, I was going to say, now the island is a national park. The park was established in 2013, and I'm grateful to Parks Canada for enabling me to continue to work on the island after the Met Service departed. Also, I thank Parks Canada for its supportive engagement with the Sable Island Institute. About 10 years ago, some colleagues and I formed the Institute, which you've just heard about. And now most of my Sable work is conducted still on a volunteer basis, but as a part of the Institute's programming. So as I've mentioned, I'm very fortunate to be here, to be so engaged and connected, but very few people will ever have an opportunity to visit Sable Island, not even for a day trip, which is, that's good for Sable because it can't really sustain much in the way of tourism, although it's a lot busier than it used to be. So increasingly over the years, there's been a need, a responsibility to share findings and experiences with others, and to share them in an engaging a way that can give them an opportunity to sort of to have a feel for Sable Island. So we're developing online opportunities as well as trying to maintain the human contact by doing a lot of in-person presentations and whatnot. So, and what do we have to talk about? We have to share about oil and plastic pollution in the marine environment, about the life histories of the Sable Island horses, about the bees, about the wonder and energy in connecting to a landscape or a landform, and hoping that perhaps people who can't come to Sable can enthusiasm and caring for this special place find themselves discovering a similar connection in places that are somewhat more accessible. Maybe a section of a riverbank, a woodland, or a stand of trees, or even a vacant lot, somewhere where there's life, there's organisms, growing and thriving. To be able to recognize questions and discover wonder, and an opportunity to conserve and protect even in a small patch. So the Sable Island Institute is a transdisciplinary organization with a mission to support and promote the protection and conservation of the natural and cultural values of Sable Island through research, collaboration, and education. There's an emphasis on transdisciplinary. Our goal is to integrate arts and sciences in many of our programs where perception, understanding, and discovery available through one discipline will be greatly enhanced through collaboration with other disciplines. Seeing, hearing, touching, with all the senses and calculations working together to interpret and understand our natural and cultural connection to this wondrous blue and green planet. Although I have no formal scientific education, I've been able to conduct research and monitoring projects here and publish results in journals by reading and learning as I became ever more involved in some of the programs. Sable Island is a wealth of questions. It just, every well, as they say, in most cases, for every question you answer, 10 more questions appear. There's so much to learn. And with questions for an artist or a forestist, the exploration begins. I'm not entirely sure how my art college experience influenced and informed my engagement with Sable Island, but perhaps those, long ago years working in the studio, my jewelry studio, my goldsmithing studio was as cluttered as this workspace that I'm in right now, but with different stuff. But working in that studio probably assisted me in understanding the value of a transdisciplinary approach in recognizing and really understanding ourselves as just one species of earthling on this planet. Through its partnership with Parks Canada, the Institute was able to provide logistical support to Jackie Mills while she was here filming Geographies of Solitude. We were able to provide her with accommodations and transportation while on the island. During her 3 visits to Sable Island, I had the opportunity. Well, I worked with her. I helped her. I carried stuff. I, got her to places, finding things that she wanted to film, and helped her record bug sounds, and put microphones on plants, things like that. And I was amazed and intrigued by her unique vision and approach, her creativity, and her always stepping gently, lightly in the landscape. And so we're thrilled. The Institute is thrilled, and the Sable community are thrilled with the enthusiastic and passionate response to her film, which you're all going to experience this evening. So again, with much appreciation and gratitude, my thanks to Planet in Focus for this wonderful opportunity and award, and this nerve-wracking experience of doing this online for the first time from Sable Island. So thanks to everybody for coming to this event and for supporting it, and to all the sponsors. Thank you very much.